Yeah, you're building a whole school district out there, sounds like.
Yeah, well, why not? They need it.
Today, I have the honor in showcasing how the founder of KenyaRelief.org, Steve James, is growing a civilization right in front of our eyes with the creation of a school system, medical facility, orphanage, and much more, all on their 60-acre campus out in Kenya. So, let's do it.
Too many days in the darkness without a glimpse of the light. Running tired and broken and scared, but I swear I'll never give up the fight. I see you broken and beat, head pulled down over your eyes. Every part of you wants to surrender, but darling, you were meant to survive.
Steve, thank you for coming on today. This is really, really great stuff. You
Yeah.
guys do so much, so we're just gonna jump right into it here.
Okay.
KenyaRelief.org. How did it get started and become really what it is today? If you can kind of illustrate a picture to our listeners here of that and really what your mission and your goals are.
Sure. Sure. Well, I need to talk a little bit about me and my background. I'm a nurse anesthetist, 35 years, raised in a good home. I became a Christian suddenly when I was 24 years old, and my life began to change a lot. I dove headfirst into my faith, and I was pursuing my dreams. I had a good career. I was successful in my field. I loved it. I married a wonderful woman, a nurse, and we had 3 children. And life was going well. I was living the American dream. I was following my Lord in everything that He would show me on how a person should live. I was at church a lot. I was active in the community. I feel like my life was, at that time, I felt like I was doing everything that a person should do as a Christian, as a human being. And then I had a tragedy struck in my life. In 2001, after 3 days after 9/11, I was supposed to attend a family reunion in California, and my wife had already set off driving cross country with her mother and her sister, and I was supposed to join them, but the whole world stopped basically after 9/11. The planes were grounded, and I had the option to get on the first flight out of Atlanta to join my wife and 13 others, and she said, and I almost decided to go see my 2 oldest. I have 3 children, Mark and Brittany, who were in college in Asheville, North Carolina. And Greta said, no, just come. It'll probably be safe. Just get on the plane and come. You saw them last weekend. So I get on the plane, I fly to there, and guess what? Nobody shows up. They were all afraid to fly. So I think I was on a 747 with 3 other people. And so I get there and we change plans. And we decide that we're going to go, San Francisco, enjoy the sights. And we had a beautiful time on the 14th. And then as the day was ending, I was driving across the Golden Gate Bridge, and I noticed my phone was turned off. So I looked down, and it had like 25 missed phone calls from home. So I call, as I'm driving across the Golden Gate Bridge, I'm calling, and all I could hear was crying in the background. And one of my relatives, my brother's ex, she got on the phone and she was hesitant to tell me something. And I sensed something was wrong with one of the kids. And I thought it was my oldest, because he is always getting in trouble for something. So, excuse me. So finally I started screaming at them, tell me what's wrong. And they said that Brittany, my daughter, my middle child, had been found dead in her college apartment.
Mm.
And they've been trying to get me for 6 hours.
Oh,
So
jeez.
I just started screaming, no, no, no. And my wife just slid into the floorboard in a coma. And I pulled off the bridge, and, I really don't remember much after that. It was just a blur. I couldn't get a flight home that night. And it was just, my son was there to identify her body by himself. And my youngest son was with relatives. And, it's the most crushing thing that's ever happened to me in my life. And I knew that in that grief, I had to find some kind of meaning for this beautiful child at the peak of her life, God taking her home. And someone told me that I should do something she wanted to do.
How old
And
was she at the time?
she was 19,
Mm.
and she had been supporting a child in Kenya for 3 years through Christian Children's Fund. She woke up late one night watching a TV commercial, or actually woke me up and said, "Daddy, I want to sponsor a child in Africa." And I thought she would just forget about it. Well, this was on Saturday. Then on Sunday, she mentioned it. And I said, "Well, baby, you need to get a job if you're going to, after school's out."
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, on Monday, she got a job. She started sending $24 a month to this little boy named Newton.
That's amazing.
And that struck my interest about Kenya, and to go.
Why do you think she did she choose Kenya just because it was the commercial there, or did she have any sort of connection before that?
No, I think it was just a random thing. All she knew is that she wanted to sponsor a child.
Mm.
And they assigned her to a little boy in Kenya. And, it wasn't long before I knew that I was going to Kenya to meet the boy she never met.
Mm.
And I was going hell or high water. All my relatives, nobody's ever traveled to Africa. They said, "You don't need to go there." So,
Yeah.
but I did. And that was and in the process, I thought, why don't I give some anesthesia while I'm there? Find, to help somebody. I've never done a mission trip. And I've been to Europe, I've been traveling, but never been to Africa. And when I found a group and I went with them, and let me tell you, it rocked my world. Never had I seen such heartache and desperation and inequity of healthcare. That's why I kept asking myself, why do I have so much? I mean, my kids have automobiles. I have a big house. I vacation. I give to my church. I give to the community. But why would I be living in this place in the world when most of the world suffers? And so I got an answer on that question while I was there. And it was so that I could give back. So that started my journey to Kenya.
Yeah, that's I mean, just riveting stuff, because I mean, you think that was 2001, right? So I mean, you're talking that was over 20 years ago. That was before, I mean, you could just log into like YouTube or the internet and see what the conditions are over there.
Yeah.
And what was it like meeting the boy?
Well, it was one of the highlights of my life, just because, even Brittany giving that money, you don't know if he's real. You send money, and to see him flesh and blood, and he is the same picture we had of him, and to meet his mother, who didn't speak a lick of English, and just to embrace him and bring him some gifts, and it was great. And I knew that I was in the right place. So then I come home, and I can't live like I've been doing. There's no way. I mean, I remember stopping at Red Lobster on the way home to eat, and it cost Greta and I from the airport $35 for a meal, and I'm just sitting there sick at my stomach.
Yeah.
Because I just left people that didn't, that make $3 a day. And so I've tried to balance that struggle and live a better life. And boy, we've made some strong advances since that first trip by myself. I took 7 friends the next fall. Then I took 8 then 20. And then fast forward, we got, we've taken more than 5,000 Americans and Europeans and someone from every state to volunteer and to make a difference. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I was gonna say because you guys have a 60-acre campus over there right now, right?
Yes, God gave us 60 acres. We don't owe one penny to anyone on this planet.
That's awesome. I love I love that.
Yeah, we have, and we haven't gotten that way. We've gotten that way through organically.
Yeah.
We haven't had giant grants. God's brought people into our lives that started to believe like me that you can make a difference in the world. One person can make a difference. And so it's been a 20-year journey to get where we are today. But yeah, we got 60 acres of land. We've got a school that has 750 students on our property, 500 on the waiting list. All we got to do is build the junior high. We'll increase our population.
Yeah, you're building a whole school district out there, sounds like.
Yeah, well, why not? They need it.
Yeah.
So we finished number one in the county already in 7 years.
Mm.
And then we have an orphanage. It's called Brittany's Home of Grace. It has 168 children in the program that are total orphans or vulnerable children. And they live on campus, or else they're in boarding school, or a couple are in university now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then go ahead.
No, you go. Sorry.
And then we have the healthcare outreach, which is a natural for me, and we specialize in surgical care. So we send 24 teams a year. That's every 2 weeks. 18 of them are surgical teams. So we do cataracts on one team, GYN on another, pediatrics on another, general surgery on another. We do some general medical outreaches out in the field. We visit other orphanages and serve their children. We have a dental team. We try and provide a holistic care in the community. So it's primarily 3 sectors. It's school, the orphanage, and the clinic. But we have done some water filtration programs for the community, but it's a robust, powerful, life-changing experience, not just for the people who we serve, but the team members that go.
Yeah, I was gonna say because you guys have 28 mission trips already booked from here on out, which is insane. And I know a lot of them involve bringing medical staff over there. What are some of the issues facing Kenyans medically the most? Is it just having prolonged illnesses that just don't get attention? Is it HIV? Is it malaria? Is there a commonality?
It's all of the above. Let's imagine. Let's start with resources. The United States spends somewhere around $11,000 a year on health care per person. That's the highest in the world. Okay, then you drop down to your advanced westernized countries, European countries, Japan, countries like that. They spend between $4,000 and $6,000. I think Germany's number 2 per person. And then you drop down to your low and middle income countries, where Kenya, I can't even remember, but it's a few $100s. You can't take care of a person for that. And so the country is disabled because of the lack of resources. It's not that they don't want to. The last president's initiative was to provide universal health care. Well, that's an impossibility unless you can get the private sector, the government hospitals, and the faith-based hospitals to work together. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to broaden the opportunities for us to go and stand by their side and help them. And we're building a medical center, right? We have a really good surgical mission. We have a small staff, but we've now started construction a month ago on a maternal child health unit. which we're most proud of because it's one of the biggest needs. But I didn't finish to answer your question. They have, it's poverty, it's lack of resources, it is lack of trained manpower. A lot of people do leave the country when they get a higher education. That's hurt them some. Retention of medical personnel. Corruption certainly is an issue. HIV/AIDS would cripple any country in those conditions. That was a heavy blow to them. So, there are people there that want to make a difference. And, our mission statement says is that we bring hope to a new generation of Kenyans through cooperation between communities, uniting for a common good. So that's kind of what drives us. And we're a Christian organization, but we're not an evangelical church planting organization. We're there to be the hands and feet of Jesus and to invite other people to come stand with us. We have Hindus and Muslims and people that are searching. They all go with us and they stand by our side, and it's a beautiful experience. It's the best of humanity coming together to serve.
Yeah, to go off what you're saying before about people leaving, once they get an education, I feel like that's a commonality with a lot of countries. They either leave there, or when people study in like the United States, they get their degree and go back to their country as well. I feel
Yes.
like what you guys do too is you guys are actually bringing over like the American dream, what people like come to the United States for. I feel like you're actually bringing that over to Kenya because, people come here for, education. They come here for healthcare. They come here for the professionals that can help train them and serve them. And I feel like you bringing that over there is almost like the reverse, where you're actually bringing it to them, which I think is so cool. Have you ever thought about it like that?
No, not really. You're making me. I love learning things. Sometimes you don't see it yourself, and so that's an interesting thought. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think what you guys provide, maybe you guys eventually are able to keep everybody over there too, where it's like they want to, they start to have a sense of that Kenyan pride, being patriotic, with being a Kenyan, to where they want to stay and then help build that next school. And I think thinking 5, 10, 20 years down the line, seeing like an entire school district start to come out, colleges, then you've got people starting to serve maybe some restaurants here and there. I think that would be amazing. You're like the first steps in building like a civilization.
Yeah. And the other interesting thing is a lot of people that move, and I can't say that I wouldn't move my family if there was another opportunity in another country, if it was the best for them, which drives most people. It's not just about money. We find there are a lot of what they call diaspora, which are Kenyans that live abroad that have done well. They've come to the U.S. and they've been blessed for, and they want to give back to their country. And so we've recruited scores of Kenyans who live in the U.S. now who really just wanted to find a way to give back. And so we've created an opportunity for people to go back. We have teams that are led by Kenyans that live in the U.S., and it thrills them to go back and help their brothers and sisters.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, because and then they can also see, those people have gone and done this. They're this now, and they kind of have that role models, because I think that's so important, where people can actually see, somebody in my social status has gone off to do X, Y, and Z. There's that hope, which is what you said.
That's
another to bring.
That's a very good point, because Kenya is a male-dominated society. That's in a transition to try and gender equality and all that, but it's a long way from being where it needs to be. So them seeing a woman from Kenya who goes to America and becomes a doctor or a nurse or a pharmacist, and they come back and share their story, boy, it just gives those young girls that a passion and a belief that they can do that too.
Yeah, and that's where it starts. That generational turn, where things start getting turned over, and people can kind of follow in those footsteps. For people who, maybe hearing about Kenya for the first time, I'd love to kind of just paint them a picture of, where is Kenya in Africa? What's the country kind of like? And stop me at any point if I'm incorrect with any of these, because you will know way better than I do. A couple things about Kenya. It's about, in terms of the physical size, it's in East Africa. It's between the size, and I was looking at my big map that I have behind me, kind of
Yeah.
comparing it. It's between the size of, say, Colorado and Texas. It's known as the world's best safari destination. It has about,
Amen.
yes, yes. That is definitely something that is an incentive on those service trips, I'm sure.
Oh, we do it every time. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's got 50 epic national parks, about 53 million people. That's about the size of New York and California combined. I was surprised to see, 85% of the country practices Christianity, with English being a dominant language.
Yes.
Um, and the country's industries are agriculture, and
Hmm.
the tourism, I believe,
Hmm.
as well, because of the safari trips. And
Yes.
if you look at where Kenya is located on a map, being in East Africa, I mean, your neighbors are Somalia to your direct east,
Hmm.
Ethiopia and South Sudan to your direct north, and then Uganda to your direct west. And this even surprised me when I really just got to it, looked at a map, and saw the neighbors. I mean, these are countries that are really on my news show about once a week because of their large scale kind of
Yes.
political instability, which then leads to large scale violence. And Kenya being a little bit different, though, as they've been able to maintain stability, it seems, for a couple of decades, but still being over in East Africa, with those being your surrounding immediate neighbors. On your service trips, do has safety ever been a concern at all?
Well, it's always a concern. In fact, as the leader of the organization, if you had to ask me what one of my top priorities were, is to care for our teams and our staff and our missionaries and our children. Safety is very important. Fortunately, some of those peripheral parts of the country, unfortunately, peripheral parts of the country are dangerous. Al Shabaab is still in Somalia and trying, causing issues. But Kenya's a large country. I see it. I see it kind of like. Well, let me tell you first. I've taken my granddaughter. I've taken my wife. I've taken dear friends. I have zero fear. I have more fear traveling to certain parts of Birmingham, just up
Yeah,
the
yeah, I was
road,
gonna say.
than I do in Kenya. Okay. First of all, a lion is not going to eat you. Okay. And you're not going to get kidnapped. Anybody that travels, you travel smartly. Fortunately, most of Kenya is safe. It is very safe. There's crime, petty crime, even some violent crime in the big cities, just like Chicago and Dallas and Miami and you name it. But we are very careful. Our ministry is located in the lower portion of Kenya, near Masai Mara, near Tanzania. Never has there been an incident of any terrorist attack or anything like that. Nairobi, we fly into Nairobi. I feel comfortable in Nairobi. There's 5 million people there. I go hang out in Nairobi. I just don't go out at night in the wrong places.
Yeah.
And then we have a professional safari company that's been with me 21 years. I would say in my 67 years of business, they offer the best service of any company I've ever been associated with. And they protect us, they watch out for our good. So, you know, uh, I think it's as safe to go there as it is anywhere else I go. We
That's
make sure of that. And then our food security is good. We feed our teams well. We have our own chefs. We take you to really fine resorts and a nice hotel, so that not so you can have a vacation, but so that you can feel good, so that you can feel safe, so that you can give 110%. So we have a primo trips. Let me tell you, I doubt anybody anybody is going to Africa doing what we're doing as good as we're doing it with the mission teams. I'm
Yeah,
sure yeah.
I was gonna say, because from looking at your service trips, they look awesome. They look awesome because you're not only serving in whatever capacity that you're going over there to do, but then you're also going on these safari trips. You're seeing the wildlife out there that you're seeing endangered
Mm-hmm.
species. Some of the realms that
Yes.
you're only gonna get in a artificially over in the United States in a zoo, not in their natural habitat. Would you mind just giving us a
Yeah.
little rundown on what
Yeah.
one of the what an average service trip, if there is an average service trip, what the typical service trip would be for someone who does want to sign up?
Yeah, well, let me say too, it's not just medical people. We have a prep team where we need engineers, we need plumbers, we need architect, we need mechanical engineers, we need mechanics, that kind of people, those kind of people. That they go a couple times a year. Then we have a teachers team. So if you're an educator, you can go on a teachers team. I think this
Hmm.
next year we're having a career. Half of a team is career day where we speak to kids, but any of those, but the predominant people are sonographers and gynecologists and pharmacists and so on.
It probably helps a lot that most people over there speak English too, right? So it's probably easy for like educators and teachers to kind of just like walk right into being able to teach.
Yes, now it's taught in their schools. In fact, their English is much better than our English. It's embarrassing. They're more.
That's surprising.
It's more like British. It's the British because it was a colony. But the service teams, they're very well organized. I mean, you're cared for. You're sent a package, everything you need to know about going to Kenya. Millie does an awesome job of orientation. You have a team leader that's been before. You're cared for like you know like you're an important person, and you are. But all of our teams leave on a Wednesday. They get there on a Thursday. It's a marathon to get there. Then we have an 8-hour drive after we sleep one night. Then we have 5 nights on campus where we have 3 chefs. Actually, Brittany's little boy, Newton, is a chef for us now.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Look at that.
yeah. We sent him to school. And we have other stories like that. But you stay on campus. The first day you visit the home of an orphan. You visit our compound. You get a full tour of the school. Then the next day, then you go over and see the clinic. If you're a clinic person, you get orientation to your equipment, your instruments, your whatever. Then on Sunday morning, we have church service with kids, with child focused. It's the most exciting, inspiring church service I've ever been to. And then we start seeing patients, screen them. Then we do surgery on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The team that's there right now is a cataract surgery team from Michigan. It's their 15th year.
Wow.
They completed 90 cataract surgeries today and saw almost 500 patients. So, and then we have a special dinner on Wednesday night. Then on Thursday, we go on safari for 2 full days, and we go to Masai Mara. It's arguably the best game park in the world. It's 2 hours
wow.
from our back door.
Wow.
You can spit on a lion. You'll see.
I don't know if I want to do that. That's lines that might be a little too close for comfort for me. I'm kidding though.
Well, they actually don't even act like you're there.
Oh, really?
But you don't get out of the vehicle.
Probably because you're not a threat to them at all. They're just like walking around us like we walk around like worms and like frogs,
Yeah. Yeah. So you see just about everything on Lion King, but it's live. And then we make it back to Nairobi. You get home on a Sunday. So you pay your way. It's not a cheap trip. The flight itself is expensive, but then you pay us and we pay for your safari. We pay for extra security. We pay for, chefs. It's a primo trip. It costs you around $3,500 to $4,000, depending on what time of the year it is, if migration is going on or whatever. But the teams are awesome. They're tiring, exhausting, but I would say 98% of the people that give us feedback say one of the best things they've ever done in their life.
Yeah,
But
because
you
it's
don't have to
rewarding
go
and
to Kenya
purposeful.
to have impact. We need people. There are people that we're building a maternal child health hospital. I wish I had a whole nother podcast just to show you what that is and how meaningful that is. And if I could just say briefly, just to whet their appetite, we have around 8 deaths per 100,000 births or deliveries for mothers. 8. Kenya has 375 mothers die every 100,000 births. In Migori, it's twice that. It's almost 700 women die giving birth. And then you got the children that die. So we are very serious, and we're building our nicest facility, and we need help. We're halfway there on finances, but we've already broke ground. But it's going to change the community, and it's going to save the lives of mothers and children. And I can say it, no mother or child should die giving birth. And so that's something that I'd love to talk to somebody about if anybody feels interested in knowing more about that.
Yeah, you guys must be like legends over there. I mean, almost like how like the American Red Cross is seen, in the United States. I mean, you guys are a foundation over there. I mean, I'm sure you guys spread like wildfire throughout the community and even the surrounding countries. I'm sure people would be,
Tanzania.
yeah, commuting cross country just to come see you.
Yeah, we're highly respected in that community. We draw patients from 4 and 5 hours away that come there to get a big goiter taken off their neck for $100.
Yeah.
When it cost them, thousands of dollars in Kenya if they can get it. We do a lot of really important surgeries there.
Yeah, because it's got to be all word of mouth over there too. Because I'm sure people don't have cell phones. They can text. I know a guy over in Kenya that can help you out with that. I mean, because that's the only way it can really typically spread. Because is there media out there at all?
Yeah, there is. Actually, Kenya is very advanced at some levels. It's just they haven't. It's not stuff that's typically available to everybody. I mean, there is a very wealthy community there. There's a small middle class, but Kenya is progressing quickly. Their roads have improved. So many things have improved. It's just high unemployment and poor access to health care. Yeah. Those are the big problems, And the economy's bad. When you think COVID hit us bad, if you could see what happens around the world, it's the poor in the world who have suffered the most from COVID. Even though they haven't had the deaths that we have, they've suffered, and they still are.
Yeah, because over there too, I mean, with the tourism being a big factor with the safari. I mean, during COVID, I'm sure there was zero. That went down to zero. And that's a huge industry.
There were so many people sent home and they couldn't pay. Well, they didn't have school for 9 months. We had to quarantine our kids on campus for 9 months. Yeah, school fees are a big problem. The economy they're really struggling, and there's never been a time in history when people should need to get involved in supporting organizations overseas.
Yeah.
It's so hard on Africa, and Africa's huge. Africa, most people. You had a very good history lesson, by the way. I could tell you brought out some really good points about Kenya.
And my father was a history teacher.
Okay, well, it doesn't surprise me you're a teacher's son then, because most accomplished people, the majority that I meet, have teachers as parents. That's something I've observed, especially in Kenya. But Africa is a giant continent. You can place China, United States, India, Europe, Argentina, all in the continent. It's so big. And people think because they hear something bad in Nigeria, it's in Kenya. Well, that's like something in San Francisco affecting somebody in Miami.
Yeah, I know. And then somebody going, "Oh, well, didn't you get affected by like that riot in San Francisco?" And I'm living in Miami. I'm looking at them like, You are widely uneducated.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But Kenya people are friendly. I would say if you had to pick the top few countries that respect America, Kenya is one of them.
That's because you're a big part of that, for sure.
Oh, we're a small part. Someday we're going to be a big part. You know, I mean, we're going to spread all over Kenya to, tentacles. But it takes a while to build a solid, sustainable infrastructure where you can do that.
Yeah, I was gonna
You can
ask.
dilute yourself.
I was gonna ask you to finish up. I wanted to make sure I asked you. You know what is your favorite part of about doing this, and B, what are some of your goals for the next 5 to 10 years? I know you'd love to spread all over Kenya. Is there anything in specific that you're eyeing for those next? I know you're building that next campus too.
Yeah. Well, comprehensive health care is high on my list. The school's flying. The school is going somewhere already. It's sustainable. Healthcare is an investment in the future. And for instance, we had a child come in this time. I can't even send you the picture without permission. But we had a 5-year-old come in on this I team. The Detroit team saw them. The kid had a giant cancer that started in the eye and spread. Unbelievable. The mother was beside herself, poverty. The child was screaming in pain. Nothing, no treatment. There was nobody really helping this child, and the child's going to die. So we were able to find a hospice center, very few of them in Kenya, that would take a resident child and help that child die with some dignity. So we're trying to get the mother to do that. But that's just one tiny example. I could tell you stories about women delivering in a hospital where there's no water. The district hospital, and there's no water, and they sleep, they put them on a mattress with no sheets. They deliver, universal healthcare is big for me. So we want to build a comprehensive center where people don't have to travel. They can have everything done right there. The university, that's coming. Expanding our services for children, being able to take babies that don't have anywhere to go. There's so many ways for us to grow. So those are ideas that I have. You asked me what was my favorite part. I love seeing a crippled child learn to walk because they had surgery. I love seeing a blind person on this team taking the mask, the bandage off, and they can see. I love seeing a goiter removed from somebody that's been carrying it around for 10 years. But mostly I love seeing change in Americans, realizing that they're not created in this world to have all this wealth and luxury and stuff. They're created and given those blessings because they need to share. We only live on this earth 70 or 80 years, right? There's an eternity out there that we need to be thinking about. But we're on this planet for some reason. And if it's not to help your brothers and sisters, which they are, when you go into the operating room and you cut someone open, you can't tell if they're Chinese, Japanese, from Israel, from Africa. You cannot tell.
Blood's always red.
So, if I could do anything on this, even this, I would just say to that person that's being touched by this conversation, get out there and do something. Find, if you're not, and if you are, God bless you. But be part of the solution in this world. It's the only life we have to live.
Yeah. No. Thanks for that. I mean, it should hit home with everyone too, because what you see in America as the problem, the average problem. I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday about something just so irrelevant when we use the words problem, issue, suffering, trauma. I think we got to be careful with the way we kind of use those, because what really is the actuality. I mean, we're not even on the same planet as to someone like you said, the child coming in with cancer all over their face, and
Mm.
and the mothers beside themselves on what to do. I mean, that's an entirely different perspective. And I'm
Mhm.
glad that you had, touched on that, because I think
Yeah.
that is something very important to. What also helps on those service trips too is broaden people's perspectives. Seeing it in real time, getting out of our phones and TV and actually seeing it, because
Yeah.
that's just it's so important. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I think this is one of the most important things I've done today. It's really a pleasure for you to help spread the word about this. I'm believing that God is going to use this show to touch some people we may never know about. But I would invite anybody that wants to come on board with us. We're very transparent. Everything is an open book with us. Um, you can go to our website, kenyarelief.org, and learn more. My contact's all over it. We're all over YouTube.
And that's how people would find you, right? The website,
Yeah,
through YouTube.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
kenyarelief.org.
Okay. KenyaRelief.org. They could learn more about the service trips, ways to donate, kind of educate themselves too on Kenya and the problems that are going on out there.
Yeah, we're doing another exciting thing with Amazon. We're creating like a wedding registry. We have an organization in Springfield, a Catholic organization, that's shipping 5 containers of medical equipment for this unit. And so we've picked a whole host of items that you can order on Amazon. They ship them directly to this recycling agency, Catholic hospital system in Illinois, and then they're delivered on a container. And it's things like a mirror for a delivery for a patient's room, or a water fountain, or this or that. But all those items can go directly on a container, be there in this new maternal child hospital. So that's something somebody can do because they can, but all that's going to become available. They should sign up for our newsletter. They should contact us.
Oh, that's awesome. It's like a new way of giving that I hope maybe more
Yeah.
nonprofits kind of take and adopt.
Yeah, you can buy a trash can,
Yeah.
a mop.
Yeah.
So,
Because those things are important. Those things, I mean, keeping
Oh.
things clean, especially in the ER you guys have,
yeah. We're
And-
buying we're getting an ambulance. I'm so excited about that.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah.
You have to send me some pics when you get it.
Oh, you shouldn't ask for that. I'll send you a bunch. But I'm in Alabama. Mhm. If anybody's ever wants to stop by our office in Coleman, Alabama, but we have people from every state involved, so I can connect you.
All right. Well, good stuff. Good stuff. I thank you so much for your time, Steve, and especially for everything that you guys do over there, and for you leading the charge, and to you and your team, continue to be safe out there. And I'm gonna check out those service trips, and I'm sure I'll see you down the road.
Okay, let's do it in January.
Yes.
I've got room.
Let's do it, man.
What a pleasure it's been.
Yes, thank you, Steve.
Okay, we'll talk to you later.
With every star